path begins within. Welcome to the Way of Mastery. Welcome to the Way of Mastery. My name is Christopher August, and I am honored, delighted to be here in this space with you. It has been now 10 years since my first podcast, the Soul and Wonder podcast. Back in 2016, podcasting was yet to be really a mainstream thing. It was still in its early days. And that podcast taught me so much about myself. I got to learn from so many incredible people and share my gifts as both a student and a guide. And I look back over these 10 years, how much I have grown, how much I have expanded in so many ways, and how this path of self-mastery has been at the forefront of my life. And I am so deeply grateful for all of the things that I have experienced over this decade, all of the challenges, the adversities, the hardships, the dark nights, all of what has served me to be able to show up right here, right now, in this space with a greater level of awareness and embodied understanding. And of course, I still play the role as a student, and I also play the role of a teacher. So what you're going to receive through this podcast is going to be multifaceted. You'll receive wisdom. You'll receive insights, reflections, contemplations, stories, strategies. All things to support you on your path of self-mastery and empower you to rise into who you came here to be. Because at the end of the day, there is something so special that lies dormant within you. Hidden potential, gifts, purpose, mission that you came here for. And so may this show, may this platform serve you in the remembrance of who you truly are. Beneath all the layers of conditioning, programming, indoctrination, beneath all the labels, the boxes, to really feel into, to breathe into your core essence and your soul's truth. So with that being said, I wanted to open this first episode with really going deep into what I call the Way of Mastery and what that actually really means. So I wrote a short manifesto, that really outlines and provides insight into this path that we're going to be exploring through the many different layers, through the many different episodes and conversations that I'll be having with you as well as with others. And so as we dive in, I'm going to read through this manifesto and share this with you. And then I'm going to go into, let's say, a protocol for true self-mastery. And by going through this entire journey, I invite you to really go into a space of presence, come into a space of presence, a space where you can totally receive these words. For may these words benefit you, serve you, and support you on your journey. And so I invite us now, of course, if it feels comfortable, feels good, I invite us into some breath. Now, if you're driving, you can do this with your eyes open. However, if you are sitting in a place where you can receive right now, I just invite you to close down your eyes. And just plant your feet firmly on the floor beneath you. And if you can, sitting up straight, palms face up. And slowly we'll begin to take a few conscious breaths. Just letting out any remaining air. And taking a deep, slow breath in through the nose. Gently hold that at the top. And exhale, deflate all of that air out the mouth. Once again, taking that slow, steady breath in. And exhale all the way out. Inhaling to the top. Exhaling, letting go to the bottom. Just stay in that rhythm. Slowing everything down. Breathing into the belly. And exhaling out all of the tension, the tightness, the constriction, the stress that you've been carrying. Just let it go. Breathing in new life. Exhaling out all the stagnation. And subtly, breath by breath, just allowing the body to fully relax. Dropping the shoulders. Loosening the belly. Opening the heart. Allowing your awareness to drop from your mind, from all the busyness, down into the peace, the gratitude, the love of the heart. Just remain here in this breath, in this rhythm. Just feeling the rise and the fall. Beautiful. I'm just taking a few more breaths. And I invite you back into this space. Just simply observing, noticing how you're feeling right now. Perhaps a subtle shift of energy. Okay, let's dive in. The way of mastery. The way of mastery is the path of inner transformation, authentic living, and conscious creation. A path founded upon the ancient Hermetic Law of Correspondence, as within, so without. By turning inward and bringing awareness to our innermost state of being, our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, nervous system, and energy, we begin to break free from the confines of survival, fear, scarcity, and victimhood. We lose the grip of unconscious conditioning and reclaim our true power, sovereignty, and freedom. The breath is one of the most powerful tools for accessing our inner world. It brings us back into the body, reveals what is living beneath the surface, and creates the space between unconscious reaction and conscious choice. Through the breath, we learn not only to regulate our state, but to reconnect with the deeper intelligence and truth that lives within us. As we transform within, our perspective expands, our self-love deepens, and the way we relate, lead, create, and live begins to shift. Our relationships become more honest and intimate. Our decisions become more aligned. Our leadership becomes more grounded. We begin making choices that support deeper health, vitality, and inner coherence, and our expression becomes more true and real. We begin to honor and embody our unique gifts, live in deeper alignment with our purpose, and place our lives in service to something greater than ourselves. We learn to speak from the soul, live from the heart, and allow our life's work, relationships, and creations to become a reflection of who we truly are. This is not about controlling life or forcing reality to conform to our will. It is about transforming the consciousness from which we perceive, choose, and create. It is about releasing our attachment to how life must unfold and surrendering into a deeper state of trust, allowing the intelligence of life to guide our path and reveal what is ready to emerge through us. Our role is not to force the future into existence, but to remain present, listen inwardly, and follow what brings us into greater aliveness, expansion, and truth. We move toward our highest joy and excitement, not as a way of escaping challenge, but as an inner compass guiding us toward the experiences, expressions, and contributions most aligned with who we are becoming. Along this path, we begin to see life through a different lens. Challenges are no longer simply obstacles standing in our way, but opportunities to deepen, strengthen, and become more conscious. Our triggers become teachers, our wounds become wisdom. Even our shadow reveals themselves as gifts in disguise, holding the forgotten power, wisdom, and wholeness waiting to be reclaimed. As we change within, the life we participate in creating begins to change around us. Our outer reality begins to shift because the person perceiving, choosing, and creating has shifted. Life becomes less about striving to become someone and more about releasing everything that prevents the deepest truth of who we are from fully expressing itself through us. This is the way of mastery. So I wanted to start there to bring a scope, an overview of what this work truly means. You know, sometimes we hear words and there might be some preconceived definitions of what they mean. But that's why I like to play with language and to show the deeper essence and energy behind these words, and how this way of mastery, which is the path that we're all walking essentially as we embark on this awakening journey, we are walking the way of mastery. And so beyond this manifesto, what I want to do is get into just some different pillars. I want to share a little bit more into self-mastery, which is really what I'm going to be focused on in the various aspects of self-mastery, and how this path is a way to create the life that you desire, because it is through you that all things are created. And there is life that is wanting to be lived through you. Yet it is our responsibility to get out of our own way and to open ourselves up to receive God, Great Spirit, universe, source, intelligence, creator, however you may define it. allowing that to work through us, for us. So self-mastery oftentimes, can be looked at through these different lenses. So let's talk a little bit about what it's not. So self-mastery is not about controlling life. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's not about becoming perfect. It's not about never being triggered. It's not about forcing ourselves to become someone else. That's not what self-mastery is about. What true self-mastery is learning to lead ourselves. It's feeling deeply without being ruled by what we feel. It's recognizing when the past is influencing our present and taking responsibility for ourselves. It's remaining connected to our truth, our values, our vision, even when we're under pressure. It's choosing integrity over impulse. It's fear over love. It's becoming internally safe and coherent. Self-mastery is not the domination of the self, it's the integration of the self with a capital S. And so it's important as we dive into this topic to speak to many different principles and laws that govern the universe, spiritual laws. And, out of the different Hermetic laws, the 7 Hermetic laws, if you're familiar with them. If you're not, you can pick up the Kabbalion, and that kind of goes over these laws that govern this universe and life. And I find it to be a really beneficial framework for, reality creation and self-mastery. But of those laws, really what I'm speaking to here is the law of correspondence, which is essentially as within, so without. As above, so below. Meaning that your consciousness is what is projecting itself onto the movie screen of reality. And your consciousness is made up of all of your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, your energy. All of this makes up your consciousness. And that consciousness is then creating the reality that you are living. And so by mastering ourselves, by coming within ourselves, we get to look at all of the ways in which perhaps we have made it harder than what it needs to be. Perhaps that we have created a movie, a video game that perhaps we don't really like playing anymore. And generally, this is a part of this awakening journey, is that we come up against some internal battle, or perhaps there's an external catalyst that brings us deeper within, a job loss, a loss of a relationship, a death of a loved one, an accident. All of these things can very much happen to get our attention and allow us to come back within ourselves, because we have spent most of our lives in the mode of chasing and striving and doing, trying to get everything from the external, when we are actually working completely backwards. Everything is created from the inside out. And so when we're chasing money in the external, when we're chasing the need for love and validation in the external from others, when we are constantly doing and performing in order to improve our self-worth, all of these things, and we're stressed out all the time. We're in a place of fear, of lack, of scarcity. All of this is driving this external behavior and thinking that we're going to get something from it all. But what a lot of people realize is that actually the money or the whatever it else might be is not the solution. Actually, there are many people out there that have perhaps what we call a lot of money, a lot of financial prosperity, who are deeply miserable and unhappy. And that is because they haven't tapped into the source of abundance that already lies within. And so as we speak into the law of correspondence, we, as the central philosophy behind this path, we begin to see that our internal world, it shapes how we perceive life, the decisions we make, the relationships we enter, how we respond to uncertainty, what we believe we deserve, what we allow ourselves to receive, the energy we bring into our work, our parenting, our leadership, our relationships. And the external world does not change because we want it to. We can have all the desires and wants in the world, but it doesn't respond to that. It responds to who you are. So when you change yourself, when you shift, when you transform within, and you begin to excavate your inner world from all of the conditioning and programming that has been so heavily instilled and indoctrinated into society, when we begin to feel our deepest pain, our wounds, our trauma, and we begin to breathe into those spaces, we breathe in, we feel into the fear, all of the things that have perhaps haunted us for so long, that shadow that has been lurking. All of this is how we begin to create something new. And as we do this work, which obviously at times it can feel quite dense and heavy, but there is also a way of playing with this where healing can be fun and healing at times can be easy. Yet, of course, we are navigating the human experience, and that comes with a lot of emotions, and there is highs and lows, ups and downs. But really, at the end of the day, it's about honoring our humanness matched with our divinity. It's not trying to escape this realm or trying to escape anything or go out anywhere outside of ourselves. It's actually coming back within and seeing the gift of who we are. You know, I always use this analogy about awakening, and I find it to be a very easy to understand analogy and metaphor for this path. But, you know, I always explain to people in my workshops and so forth that, you know, when we're, let's say, flying, for example, let's say we're taking off somewhere on a trip, and the day that we're scheduled to travel, it's very cloudy and dark outside, and you can't see any sun, but you know the sun is up there. Yet you have to fly through these clouds and get to cruising altitude where then that sun, that blue sky appears. So essentially all of those clouds are all of the trauma, the wounding, the pain, the conditioning, the programming, all of the things that are limiting our perception from seeing the sun that's already shining down upon us, which is our soul. So our work, our internal work through this path, this way of mastery, is to begin to clear the mirror so that we can see ourselves more clearly. And we can begin to move from a place where we are heavily victimized and thinking that life is happening to us to into the gnosis and knowingness that life is happening for us and through us. And so with that base understanding, we can, you know, carry on here. And really, I want you to begin to perhaps, and even inviting you to start to look at your life as a hall of mirrors. So what is life in this illusion of separation, right? This movie that we're in, this game that we're in. The beautiful thing about it is there is the other, meaning there is the people around us. At the core, it's really just oneness, it's unity. Yet we are fragmented into this earth school to be able to experience relationship. And we are in relationship with everything. And so I want you to look at the nature of your relationships, whether it's to a person or whether it's to a thing. And I want you to look at your connection, your relationship maybe your attachment to this thing, to this person, and allow this relationship to become your teacher. We don't often look at relationships as teachers, but they're the greatest teachers that we have. So whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's an intimate partner, a child, these relationships are always reflecting something back to us. And what is that? For some, perhaps it's their shadow, the unconscious fear, insecurity, victimization that lives within them. Perhaps it's their gifts, their brilliance, their majesty. They can reflect anything at any time. Yet, oftentimes when something triggers us or something is being reflected that perhaps isn't something we want to see, then we go into blame, we go into shame, we go into these different places within us, believing and taking things personally. Whereas all of this is here to benefit us. They're here to create a circumstance and situation in which we can grow and evolve into our highest self. So when we can begin to see our relationships, think about it, and this is a great even inquiry to perhaps tune into. Look at the nature of your relationships. Is there a specific, and oftentimes I find family and intimate relationships are the deepest medicine. So is there a pattern that continues to play out in your relationships? A pattern that perhaps you keep repeating? A pattern that keeps showing up. Maybe different people are showing up, but the same pattern is repeating. This is a really wonderful way to see where perhaps there's some work to do. And it's not from a place of judgment. It's not like, oh, I'm doomed, anything like that. It's, okay, this pattern is being reflected to me. And so what does this mean about me? What does this mean about myself? What internal dialogue, what belief do I have about myself that is creating this pattern? And what I keep seeing through the external of another. So think about that. Think about what's been repeating in your life. And this is a good indication of something that perhaps was formed during childhood, right? Because all of our wounds come back to our inner child and our childhood wounds. All of the things that have been oppressed, suppressed, repressed, rejected, disowned, hidden, judged, hated, all of that gets stored somewhere, and it stores in the body. And there is one part of us, a younger version of ourselves, who is feeling that way. Or has shut everything down and now is feeling unsafe, is feeling and has a fear of rejection, abandonment, betrayal. Right? These are the deeper layers that we get to when we begin to heal through some of these patterns. So the pattern, the behavior, the addiction, whatever it is just literally an indication of something deeper than that. And it's generally to these 6 core wounds, which I will explain in another episode. So basically, again, what is being reflected to you? Now, you can look at your relationship to others. You can look at your relationship to money. Money is a great teacher, powerful teacher, been a beautiful teacher in my life. So money is going to be a master teacher in revealing our relationship with our worth, our safety, our trust, our receiving. Our perhaps intimate relationships, familiar relationships reveal our attachment wounds and capacity for intimacy and the patterns that we're stuck in. Parenthood reveals our ability to regulate ourselves and remain present. Leadership reveals our relationship with power and responsibility. Success reveals how much visibility, abundance, and expansion we can hold. Our triggers reveal what still needs our attention. So whatever's being experienced on the outside becomes a doorway to the inside. And we come back in and we start asking ourselves the right questions. We get honest with ourselves. Self-honesty is at the core of this path. We must be able to be honest with ourselves. If we can't be honest with ourselves, then how are we supposed to be honest with anybody else? So it takes a level of vulnerability, of authenticity. So through this path, when these things start coming up, we have two choices essentially. Really, we're not in control of anything. We believe we're in control. Our ego thinks we're in control, but really the only things that we're in control of is how we either react or respond to any given moment. And sure, we may have some perceived free will choice of choosing different things, but how anything plays out in our life is really beyond our control. Everything is happening for us. It's happening through us. And it's really just one grand game of learning, of growth, of evolution. So we must take this decision of whether we're going to react, right? And oftentimes, negative reactions can come when we're feeling trigger, when we're feeling we're being attacked. It's very easy to go into fear. It's very easy to go into judgment, into blame. Right? All of this is it's very easy to go into lack and scarcity when the outside is showing us just that. The bank account is low, or the relationships aren't coming around, right? And we can get into that fear state. So all of this is what we might call, I don't really like to use the words positive and negative, but to make this easy to understand, negative reactions. And so when we're truly coming into this place of self-mastery, we begin to create a pause between activation and action, right? So let's use money, for example. It's a great example because most people can relate to this. What happens when, let's say, your bank account dips below your desired number? Okay, and I can speak from experience on this one. Whatever that number is, it dips below, you see it dipping, you have all these bills, unexpected bills to pay, you start to worry, you start to go into stress. How is it going to happen? How am I going to make rent? How am I going to do these things? How? And we start to go into this frantic nature. And what happens? We enter survival mode. Our nervous system flares up and we move directly into fight or flight or freeze even. And that creates this response within us where we start to feel this deep level of tightness and constriction. Our breath becomes shallow and we start to make unconscious decisions, acting from a place of scarcity versus from a place of abundance. We effort, we force, we strive, we chase, we perform, we do all of these things. And it just creates more stress, more anxiety. And so as you begin to work into these deeper realms within, you begin to realize that the effect, see, most of the world is chasing effects. It's chasing everything outside. That if I only work harder and do this, then I'll get what I want. But actually, it's the complete reversal. That your cause is your consciousness. The effect is whatever your consciousness is at, whatever you're vibrating at, whatever frequency you're emitting through your consciousness, through your state of being. And so a person who is in the deeper parts of their path of self-mastery, they begin to pause and even asking the right questions. What am I feeling right now? What story am I creating? What part of me has been activated? Am I responding to the present or reliving the past? What would my conditioned self do? What would my conscious self choose? These are great questions. You might want to pause and rewind that and come back to that because these are great questions to ask yourself. And they break up that energy, that immediate energy to want to react right away. And I've been in this space so many times. And layer by layer, breath by breath, we begin to heal our nervous systems. We begin to come back to a place of safety. And safety is at the foundation of this path. We must be able to cultivate an internal space of safety and coherence, because that is where everything is built from: safety, coherence, and love. And that's a journey. That takes time. We begin to observe. We begin to bring awareness to all these parts of ourselves, and we begin to breathe and just become present, become still, and really begin to break up that stagnant energy. But again, it's the way of mastery. This is a path we walk for life. And I can promise you it gets easier. I can promise you that it definitely lightens. I think in the beginning, this path can feel quite heavy, very serious, all of that. But as I mentioned before, healing can be fun. It can be easy. It could be something that we can really, truly enjoy. That doesn't have to be this heavy thing. We'll talk about that more later. So within all of this, before I get into the 4 pillars of mastery, which is really where I'm going to be ending here, I want to just share one more sort of key point to all this journey. I mentioned before the breath, right? You got to experience the breath in a very small format. Those of you that want to go deeper in that, I have an app called Beats and Breath. And on Beats and Breath, we have way over 100 different breathwork journeys ranging from 3 minutes to 40 minutes, and really incredible practical experiences: energy, focus, sleep, and also deep spiritual practices. But you can explore that, beatsandbreath.com, and you can download it on Apple and Google. But breath is one of the most powerful bridges between the unconscious and conscious self, the unseen, the seen, the unknown, the known, the human, the divine. It is the thread that weaves, that golden thread that weaves through all of us. And I'll be doing way more episodes on this, and I have whole, workshops and courses all around breath, as it is pretty much at the foundation of my work, and everything else that I do builds upon it. So the breath is this beautiful gateway, catalyst for deep transformation and freedom. And it really is such a powerful yet very simple, overlooked tool that we breathe over 20,000 times per day on average. And yet, how many of those breaths are we actually conscious about? Pretty much none. It is an automatic function, but it is a very powerful, profound way of truly transforming ourselves from the inside out. And it serves as a doorway to our highest potential and activates all of that latent energy that's within us. And yeah, a lot of people speak to the physical, to, regulating the nervous system and all of that, which is really important because that's moving more into a parasympathetic state of rest, digest, receive, coherence, safety. These are all very important. But beyond that, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual benefits of having a breath practice and reconnecting to our deeper intelligence, our inner knowing, our intuition. Breath has been at the forefront of my life and such a master teacher amongst all of the plant medicine work that I've done with people all over the world. The breath is such an incredible medicine and should very much be looked at it that way, a holistic medicine. And so again, I'll go deeper into this. I'm going to be going deeper into my story as well. I didn't really share too much about my story. I'll be doing that in more of another episode. And there's obviously many parts of my story. But for those of you that know me, I had a powerful near-death experience in 2014 on the Zambezi River. And that is really where the breath spoke to me. After I was resuscitated and came back, the breath became that thread for me in my life and was very much speaking through me. And again, more on that story later, but these experiences have all been beautiful catalysts for me to come into the line of work that I am in now, in personal transformation. So before we wrap things up here, I want to get into these 4 pillars of self-mastery. This is the 4 pillars of mastery itself. And so these 4 pillars, you can break them up and really break them down, which I'm going to do right now, and begin to, and we weave through these pillars, right? So this isn't just step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's actually happening simultaneously, right? And so I want you to look at it like that. Not so much, it's very easy to look at these things in very linear, vertical ways, but it's actually more so about looking at it from a holistic perspective of inclusion, of how we are always circulating through these different pillars. And with that being said, let's get into pillar 1. The first pillar is awareness. And awareness, self-awareness, is the foundation for all transformation. We cannot change. And you know what? I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to use the word change. Our words are very powerful. We cannot shift what we cannot see, right? Because we're not really here to change anything per se or fix anything. That's not what this whole path is about. It's more about integration, about coming back into our wholeness. But we must, shift our perspective and begin to shift our sense of awareness to encompass more of ourself. And so awareness means it's noticing our thoughts and our beliefs. It's our emotions and bodily sensations. It's our triggers and reoccurring reactions. It's the patterns that keep repeating through our lives. It's the roles and identities that we habitually inhabit. It's the moments when we abandon ourselves. It's the difference between truth and conditioning. So all of these things encompass the pillar of awareness and what awareness truly means. So true awareness is just simply observation without immediate judgment. Can we look at our shadow? And I'll go deeper into the shadow in a bit, but can we look at our shadow? Can we see these parts of ourselves that we've deemed to be unworthy, unlovable, unsafe? Can we see them fully? Can we feel them fully? That's what we'll get into next in the next pillar, but really, it's flipping the script on everything, right? Because our words, as I was mentioning before, are very powerful. When we are claiming into reality that I am unworthy, this is the lens from which we see the world. And so unworthiness is going to eventually trickle into your relationships. That is going to be mirrored back to you from everybody around you. It's going to be mirrored back to you through money. If that is a deep inherent belief that has been instilled within you, then you are naturally going to experience that externally. So how we flip the script on that is there is a belief within me that says I am unworthy. Feel into that. I am unworthy versus there is a belief within me that says I am unworthy. So now we're not attached to the identity of unworthiness. We are actually becoming the observer and saying, oh, there's actually a belief within me. So we're just getting curious. And that then gives us a choice. And it allows us to sort of break up the ways in which we've been seen through this very narrow band lens. Does that make sense? Very narrow lens of our reality. And so our awareness allows us to see what has been living through us unconsciously. And we must bring awareness. We must shine the light on the darkness. We must begin to see it all. That's the first step. Pillar 1, awareness. Pillar 2, so awareness reveals the pattern, but healing meets what we created. So pillar 2 is healing. So healing meets what created it. Many of our patterns began and begin as intelligent forms of protection. The people-pleasing protected us from maybe connection. Perfectionism helped us earn approval. Emotional shutdown protected us from overwhelm. Hyperindependence protected us from disappointment. Control created a sense of safety within chaos. So healing is not about attacking or eliminating these patterns, right? That's what we want to do. We want to fix, we want to change. We just want to get rid of, eliminate. But when we look at it that way, that's impossible because we are energy and energy can never be destroyed. At the core, everything is energy, and energy can't be destroyed. It can't be eliminated. But it can be integrated, can be alchemized. So this is about understanding what we have been protecting ourselves from and giving those parts of us a new lens, a new experience. So healing involves feeling things, the emotions that we once had to suppress to keep ourselves safe. Healing's grieving what we didn't receive, what we needed. Healing's rebuilding safety and coherence in the body and the nervous system. Healing is reforming, rewiring our belief system. Healing's reparenting younger parts of ourselves. Healing's recovering qualities we learned to hide. Healing is reclaiming our true sense of power and sovereignty. We will never be able to shame ourselves into freedom. All of this must come from this true level of love, of acceptance, of forgiveness, of compassion, of kindness, of grace towards ourselves. The more that we invite that into our lives, the more you will begin to see so many radical differences in your relationships, in your health, in your career, in your life. At the end of the day, really, this is about becoming a source of love. Becoming your own source of happiness, of abundance, of fulfillment, of freedom. And as I read in the manifesto, it's about becoming available for God, Great Spirit, Creator, Intelligence, Source, to work through you. And healing is lightening the load. We're no longer burdened by these parts of ourselves, but we're actually lightening ourselves. We're opening our heart to receive all of life. And so a big part of this healing journey is, yes, it's the shadow, right? Which is what Carl Jung shares about and has coined the term the shadow. The shadow is the unconscious parts of ourselves. It contains the parts of ourselves that we learn to reject, hide, or suppress in order to belong. This can include different emotions. It can include anger, sensitivity, or even our power or vulnerability, sadness, grief. And what we reject, as we mentioned before, everything's energy. What we reject, and emotions are energy in motion. What we reject does not disappear. It moves beneath the surface and influences us unconsciously. So it becomes imprinted within our psyche and our nervous system. And so as an example, suppressed anger becomes resentment. Rejected vulnerability becomes emotional armor. Disowned power becomes passivity. Buried grief becomes numbness. Shadow work asks us to meet these parts of ourselves with honesty and compassion. As I mentioned before, self-honesty is key to all of this. Our shadows are often gifts in disguise, carrying power and wisdom waiting to be reclaimed. I'm going to say that one more time. Our shadows are often gifts in disguise, carrying power and wisdom waiting to be reclaimed. And so the shadow is where a lot of gold can be mined, yet it's very easy to be terrified of it. We don't want to meet our own inner demons and confront those parts of ourselves, but really that is where so much beauty lives. If we can give ourselves the time and the space to feel it, to be with it. And of course, it's definitely better It's easier, I would say, to have someone guide you through that process. And I'll share more about shadow work, and I have other videos on YouTube that you can check out on shadow work, and all of them to be beneficial to support you in this. But really having a proper somatic guide that can guide you into these places is always beneficial as well. So the second part here is about the inner child. I briefly, shared about the child in different parts of these sections, but really it's the younger part of yourself that is attempting to find safety, love, or protection. It's really what it comes down to. Then we think back to our childhood, how many times that we were told to shut up or to be quiet, or that's not, acceptable, or whatever it was we were being told by our parents, right? And they were doing the best they could. And so this whole journey of inner child work, inner child healing, is about bringing, again, compassion, grace, love, acceptance, forgiveness to these parts of ourselves. And it's recognizing these parts of ourselves that are keeping us hostage, essentially, because our inner child is controlling our freedom. It is holding the keys to your freedom and your power. And so we must reparent, meaning that we must become the stable, loving presence that we needed. This is how we rewrite the past, right? And we forgive our caregivers, our parents, for they were doing the best they could. And I'll touch deeper into forgiveness because that's a whole topic in itself, but we forgive them. And from there, we forgive ourselves. We become that stable, loving presence. We offer the protection and reassurance that it maybe he or she didn't receive. It's listening to what that part fears or needs. And then it's allowing our adult self to lead that child back into safety and to play, to create, to be in that sense of imagination and innocence that it once knew. The keys to heaven, right? And this is shared a lot, is through the eyes of the child, or the gateway into the kingdom of God is through the eyes of a child. The God being within yourself, kingdom being within yourself, heaven being within yourself. So this is an internal game. It's what it's about. Pillar number 3, responsibility. So taking responsibility, taking ownership for ourselves. It's moving from this place of awareness, healing into ownership. It's not about self-blame. This is about self-leadership. It's about becoming responsible for how we meet what lives within us right now. It's owning our reactions, our choices. It's recognizing our impact on others. It's repairing when we cause harm. It's releasing blame and externalization. It's holding boundaries where needed. It's reclaiming the power we have given away. It's choosing what happens next. Responsibility is the point where we stop waiting for the past to change and begin reclaiming the future. And responsibility very much bleeds into living with integrity, living with honor, being integrous in your word, in yourself, and with your soul. And to honor yourself so fully. And also to honor life. This is all a part of responsibility. And it takes a high level of awareness to take responsibility for yourself in this way. Your inner work, your innermost self. And therefore we stop projecting on the outside, we stop vomiting on the outside world, and we come back within and know that we can choose different. All right, pillar 4, the last pillar, embodiment. Embodiment is where insight becomes life. Awareness is not enough if nothing changes in the way we actually live our lives. So embodiment is walking the talk. I wouldn't be able to share this transmission in this podcast if this is not something I'm actively practicing in my life. Sure, there's a lot of charlatans, there's a lot of bullshitters out there, people that are pretending to be walking this path, but many of them, perhaps are just fooling themselves. And that's not everybody, but I've seen it a lot, especially in the spiritual space. There's a lot of nonsense, but I don't concern myself with that. But it is important to mention that to be discerning with, the energy that you're around and being in resonance with what is, truly that energetic match for you. But embodiment, again, is walking the talk. It's making the aligned decision. It's resting instead of proving. It's having the honest conversation. It's speaking the boundary. It's sharing our voice and gifts. It's acting without waiting for universal approval. It's repairing after a reactive moment. It's choosing differently when an old pattern surfaces and returns. Embodiment is wisdom that has entered the body and become a habitual behavior. Doesn't mean that you don't regress back and fall back and forget, right? Like, this isn't about being completely enlightened all the time. That's not what this whole path is about. It's about owning yourself. It's about being in your humanness and the beautiful mess that this human life is, right? And owning that, being a part of it, being in all of it, embracing it, accepting it, loving it. And it's through all of this that we integrate these 4 pillars. We integrate our shadow into our light. And the two come together to create this sense of wholeness, that we are deeply human, yet we are divine. We are spiritual beings having a human incarnation. And so embrace the gift that all of this is. It's all for you. It's all for you. It always has been. And now you get to wake up to see that. To feel that, to breathe into that. There's nothing wasted when everything becomes a part of this path. And so you might hear these words, ascension, again, enlightenment, awakening, like everybody is trying to get out of here. But really, the spiritual path, the way of mastery, is not about escaping this experience. It's about becoming more conscious with it. It's about embracing it. This is the path of descension into ourselves. And through that, we ascend to higher levels of consciousness, higher possibilities, potentialities, opportunities that just magically show up. We tap into the synchronicity of life. We're in that God pocket. So as we do this work, as we go through these pillars, life gets to be fun, gets to be playful. We don't take it as serious. We begin to see, oh my gosh, wow, I've been living in my own prison for so long. And now I get to wake up and play this game every single day in a beautiful way and be immersed in it. To be in the world, but not of it. And to be a true soldier of the light, an emissary of the light, of love, of truth, of God. To be a blessing to this world, to bless the world with your gifts, with who you truly are. To be walking around in complete presence in that emanation of the Most High that weaves through you And so you desire to live your best life, and this is the way through. You might hear other podcasts, other channels, different people speaking about this secret, this shortcut, this hack, this strategy. Sure, there's things that we can do to make our lives a bit simpler. But at the end of the day, nothing's going to change unless we come within. So this is the path of mastery. This is the way of mastery. And we surrender ourselves, surrender our personal will for divine will. We listen inwardly. We follow what brings us aliveness and expansion. We take that next aligned step. We release what is no longer true for us. We trust in the intelligence of life, and we remain open to a path greater than the one that our mind can predict. And we step into that place as that conscious, self-sourced, sovereign creator. This is it. This is what lights me up. This is why I love showing up in these spaces and sharing these messages, and to be a conduit, a channel for these messages to come through. It's really a deep honor to be in this place of service. And so for those of you that are listening right now, that have followed me through, that have tracked your way through this deep episode, this first episode of The Way of Mastery, I want to invite you into my world, my community, my tribe, the Mastery Collective. This is the place where the work happens. So this is where we speak about the work on this podcast and The Way of Mastery, and where we do the deeper work is inside of the Mastery Collective. So some of you listening to this may already be in the collective, but for those of you that are not, this is a really beautiful opportunity to journey with other like-minded souls, people that are walking this path truly in an embodied way, and people that are really wanting to do this inner work so they can create a life of beauty, majesty, radiance, vibrance, prosperity, freedom. And we do this through many different tools, but mainly the foundations of the community is based on the teachings of the Gene Keys, the system of the Gene Keys, breath work, as well as somatic healing. And so it's through these pillars, these tools, these practices that I bring through, in which are very complementary, very synergistic, and they provide you a deep level of understanding of who you are and why you're here, and help you to, the breath is that beautiful integrator, helping you to do this work, helping you to truly grow, expand, heal, evolve. And this is, it's such a pleasure to show up there on live calls every month, gathering together. And really, you can approach this even just as a beginner. You've never done any of these practices, never worked with the Gene Keys, never worked with the breath in this way. It appeals to everybody, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced on this path. It does not matter. I make it very straightforward, simple, fun, practical. And so I would love to have you in there. Again, we have live calls every month with Gene Keys activations, different workshops, breathwork journeys, Q&As, coaching, integration. We have all of my teachings, all of my entire library of courses and programs are inside there, my workshops. So it's a really just one-stop shop, and a way for you to come into a beautiful community of people that are really valuing this and walking this way, this path of mastery. So with that being said, what an honor. And the link to all of that is in the show notes. But what an honor to be here. I am so deeply grateful for you, for your presence, for your openness, for your receptivity. I'm grateful for you to be shining your light in the world, and may this podcast be that source of remembrance for you to step deeper into your truth, into your authenticity, and to give you permission to be fully you at all times. This is the moment. We are walking through a very pivotal time in human history right now, this great shift, this great awakening that we're all a part of. And so you have medicine to share with the world. And so it is time to step out, to step into the arena. It's time to play big and to own your power, to own your voice, to own your authentic expression. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love and positive energy. Take care. Peace.